Eni Aluko kicked up some controversy recently when she complained about not being chosen to present the Women's Euros finals last year, and instead they chose a black man and a white woman, and she's saying it's unfair. We know what she means, that it's racism and sexism, nothing to do with her punditry, but Simon Jordan brilliantly exposes her. So we're going to watch that clip now and stay to the end, because I'm going to show you why the downfall of Eni Aluko's career is actually one of the best things that can happen for this country, and it's not just because of her punditry. Let's watch.
They are vastly different games.
But you were quite outspoken about Eni yesterday.
In conjunction
and you were questioning Eni's quality as a pundit.
Because in my view, for what my view is worth, I listened to the observations. I've encountered Eni in short form, in long form. We've had a conversation about something to do with the commerciality of football, which I thought Eni talked with no commercial sense. And that's my opinion. She probably disagrees. I've seen her in long form, in podcasts, talking about various things, specifically with Andrew Gold, where she's ideologically aligned with a perspective that overrepresentation is based upon merit and underrepresentation is based upon structural racism, and I find that a difficult circle to square. Yep. As far as expertise is concerned, when I listen to her as a pundit and the times that I've listened to her, I don't think that she's particularly enlightening or illuminating or engaging or charismatic, or sometimes comes across particularly likeable. But that's my view. And
let me know in the comments if you agree.
And some people will have the same view about me. And my view of punditry is when I listen to a pundit, whoever that pundit might be, whatever they may be, whether it's male, female, black, white, yellow, green, it's, do I learn something from them? Do they engage me? Do I find them interesting and entertaining? And do they merit my attention? And that's my response to the reasons why I was saying the things I said.
He's sitting right beside you.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
It's an opinion, isn't it? Which
Indeed.
we're all entitled to. I put value on opinions, right? You have to, because there's,
Depends where they come from, right?
Everybody has them, right? So I'm not going to listen to a mob on X who've never, ever put themselves in any situation to do anything close to what I've done in my career. I listen to the professionals, right? I listen to the people who've hired me for the last 11 years around the world, the biggest broadcasters in the world. By default, if I'm working with the people who are considered the brilliant broadcasters, then if I'm in the same team as them, next to them, then by default, I'm considered also a brilliant broadcaster.
Wait until you hear Simon Jordan's response. But she's basically saying she doesn't listen to the fans that watch the game and listen to her punditry. She listens to the professionals, the diversity experts, the chief execs at BBC and ITV who just pat her ego.
So I take everything you're saying, but the reality is I've been good enough for 11 years, right? And as I said, I'm the person that will go and seek out feedback for someone to go, I think you're struggling. It's never happened.
See, the language that you use, Eni, is, to me, it's steeped in a sense of entitlement. I mean, the sheer weight of the entitlement that you seem to believe that you have would resink the Titanic. I think you've been quite fortuitous. I think because of initiatives like DEI, they've allowed people to be put into positions in the men's game that I don't think they've merited. And now that sort of seeds an attitude that you become a stalwart in the women's game.
Yes.
And I listened to your observations about Ian, and Ian Wright is in the Ian Wright business, has always been. I've known Ian for 25 years, and I have my own views on him. Ian is not in any shape or form obligated to provide any support structure for you or to give you a sense of entitlement. And your position now as a broadcaster will be determined by the value of you. And the fact that people potentially aren't booking you now should give you pause to thought about why they might not be.
Hold on.
Absolutely.
The reason people aren't booking me is because I've taken myself out the firing line.
Sure. This is absolutely incredible. And one of the reasons why this is the best thing that can be happening right now is because it's literally the death of woke entitlement. Like Simon Jordan was basically speaking to her like, like a compassionate gentleman you might meet at the pub. Like, listen, kid, talking to someone a couple decades junior. Let me just share with you some life lessons. And these are things that she absolutely needed to hear, because we need to end the woke entitlement that is destroying this country. Let's look at a couple of things. So Eni Aluko claimed that, she's earned her right. She spoke so much about how she'd earned her right to speak at the top levels of the women's game, because she's had so many caps and is such a brilliant broadcaster. No one's ever given her any negative or constructive criticism. I mean, let's just have a look at just a few of her highlights in punditry.
He really has. He's the top scorer for Brazil over the last 2 years. He's got a great record, 19 goals in 40 appearances. Do the math on that. It's one goal a game, pretty much.
It doesn't get any worse than a 10-point deduction. That's probably the worst punishment you can get. And they responded really well. Got some big wins. Players like Dwight, they're playing really well, scoring goals. And ultimately, I think
just be a bit more consistent. Sometimes it can be amazing techers and the next minute's over the bar. But he's consistent, right?
Be a bit more consistent, but he's consistent, right? It's like, if this is the kind of punditry people have heard, then how could you say that you've earned the right to be a pundit just because you have caps in the women's game, and because that means that people should want to listen to you when they're watching the beautiful, beautiful game of football and expecting beautiful commentary to accompany it. And on that point about her having so much experience in women's football, I mean, let's just look at some of her clips on Soccer AM. That's it.
Down.
Straight over the bar.
This is the
Yep,
one.
it's gonna come again. Yep. I mean, I'm looking at that, and when I see this kind of stuff, I understand. Even as a Christian, I understand transgenderism. Like, I understand why there are men who see this kind of thing. And then, because I'm looking at this thinking, if this is the level that I needed to hit to be able to play women's football, then do you know what? Yeah. What have I been doing all this time? I'm just going to get one of these out, put it on my head and say, hey, hey, call me Emanuela. Call me Emanuela. Get me a football, at my feet. And then a couple of volleys. You will see me at the Women's World Cup next year. You will see me there. You will see me there. Do you like it? You will see me there. Like that. This is literally, you cannot compare the games, and you cannot come on live TV and claim to be, this incredible pundit who's played at the highest levels of football and deserves to be speaking on the stage. You can't claim that. And she honestly wants us, I'm going to keep this on. She honestly wants us to believe that it's unfair that she wasn't chosen and that it wasn't based on merit, but must have been based on something else. I mean, we're talking about ITV, who was committed to spending £80 million per year on diversity, right? And the BBC, for example, again, their chief content officer has said they're going to spend another £80 million minimum as well. This £80 million from the BBC is coming out of your license fee, by the way. And we all know what they mean when they say diversity. It basically means everybody except cisgendered, heterosexual white men, So Eni Aluko being a black woman who's basically sorry, I need to adjust this. I don't know how people do this stuff. Gosh, it's coming off. But yeah, anyways, how you can say that, these companies that will do this kind of thing, that it's unfair. It has nothing to do with merit, nothing to do with your, poor performance as a pundit. You're just not a good pundit. That's just simple facts. And this is good for the country because, like I said, it's the end of woke entitlement. The problem is people like Eni Aluko, and I know this because I've worked in DEI. I worked in DEI for a number of years before, and I got really uncomfortable with how anti-white it is. And over time, when you learn how the industries actually work, it's very, very, very sickening what happens. But you see it all the time, where there are people who are basically told the whole world is out to get you because you're black, because you're a woman, because you're gay, because you're this, because you're that. And so whenever you miss out on an opportunity, not only is it unfair and unjust, but you have to complain about it because you're speaking truth to power. So, Eni probably believes that she is like a martyr coming on these platforms and speaking up for truth and justice. And meanwhile, you just sound like an entitled brat, basically. And this is happening in universities, in corporate UK. It's happening in government, civil service, all over the place, in our politics. And it needs to stop. The reality is England, Britain, as a country, is not racist. It's not sexist. We just believe in common sense. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, well, we should anyway, whether you're an immigrant, it should be about common sense and not having to force people to affirm you and pat you on your back just because of your protected characteristics. It might have worked in 2020, when everybody was putting black squares on their Instagram feeds, but it will not work anymore.